What are you posting on Facebook? Really, why are you posting things on Facebook? Not just anything, but you're about to make a post. You've typed it out. You haven't pressed post yet or submit or whatever the button says. But you typed it out. You know what it's going to be. Read it back to yourself. Ask yourself, what is the point of this? What do I hope to accomplish with this post? If it's comedy, maybe it's subtle. Maybe it's funny to you. You just think, the only goal I have with this post is to make people laugh, or even just make myself laugh. All right, fine. I allow a ton to comedy. Not like I'm the boss. I'm just saying, you're not going to hear me try to discourage you from posting something that's supposed to be funny if it's funny. Now, if you try to do something funny that's not funny, it's not like I'm going to come after you thinking you should be punished for something. It's just, you can get away with a lot, damn near anything, if it's funny. I don't think there's any topics that are off limits to comedy. I think you can make any joke you want, if it's funny. The things that have brought me to this conversation, though, this one-man conversation, or at least a one-way conversation, are not meant to be funny. Posts that are not meant to be funny, they're meant to make a point. Unfortunately, and unsurprisingly, people are not good at making points. They're especially not good at making points when they're posting on social media because they've been conditioned over these last 15 years or whatever it's been to keep it short. I don't think the KISS acronym applies here because keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, okay, fine, it does. It doesn't imply any well thought out aspect of the idea. So sure, KISS, keep it simple. People have just come to take that as the norm, that they took it for granted. This is what you're supposed to do. I like in the Facebook feature over the past 2 years, I don't remember when it started, if you make a post of sufficient succinctity, not a word, it'll post it with tall letters. The typeface or font, I guess, is larger. Once you go beyond, I don't know what it is, like 50 characters or something, then it'll shrink back down to a normal sized font. But I like to, it's like a personal challenge to myself. I like to keep my posts so succinct that they can keep the larger font. But those are for things where I'm not trying to make a point, something that requires some words. Again, what brings me to this one-way conversation is the overwhelming popularity of trying to use Facebook as a voice, like an actual serious, usually political voice, to try to make a point, or if not make a point, win some points for your team. Yeah, you did it. But you really didn't do it. All you did was alienate yourself from people who think differently. And you might say, anyone who disagrees with this point, I don't want to be friends with anyway. I think that's a naive and harmful way to view life. There are a lot of political views that you may hold that they're not worth throwing someone out of your life for a disagreement over. I think you should really only hold political views at the near your pinnacle of beliefs in importance to the minimum required by being a responsible citizen in a democratic republic such as ours. That's to say, there are some things you can't dispense with as far as caring about politics, but there aren't that many. You can still be friends with people who disagree with you strongly in many political things. You may stop short of being friends with a Nazi. All right, fair enough. I guess it needs to be said today that you may stop short of being friends with a flat communist. Maybe. Okay. But there really aren't that many. I made a post recently of a picture I drew, very simplistic picture. But it was just a line, a continuum that was meant to show or meant to represent the full range of ethical possibility that humans can rest on. And then I had two lines that were very close together, perpendicular to that first, the continuum line. They were very close, and they only accounted for, 2% of the entire continuum. And I said, here, this line is the worst ethical person alive, and this one's the best one. Look how small that range is. We have a huge continuum of possible ethical life for humans. And all the people in your life, or all the people on Earth right now, maybe a few exceptions, only live and they only move inside this very small range inside that whole continuum. We're not that different for the most part. So all these left and right quarrels that are so important that you need to cast people out of your lives, if you just think about the possible differences that could be there and see just how similar you are to all these people. Say you're on the far right and you're coming across a far left person, you want to throw them out of your life forever. For what? I know the differences. I understand the socio-political arguments. I know the positions. Believe me, I know. But I also know the arguments and the positions that exist far outside anything that would be considered a left or right normal position in the United States of America in the year 2020. They do exist, and they are plentiful. I think you just have to appreciate how close we all are in our political ideas, because we are really close. That was one part of this big point, to not throw people out of your lives, to not hold politics so high up in importance that you're willing to throw people out of your lives. You should only hold politics as important enough as is necessary for someone to do their duty as a citizen in a democratic republic such as ours, as I said. Which isn't all that much, actually. Just keep yourself informed, vote when you're asked to, maybe get involved in the occasional political movement, if something really important comes up. That's about it. It's not all that much. It doesn't have to occupy your mind every day unless you're a professional. Back to the main point, the main point, even. Posting things on Facebook. Ask yourself, what is the point of this? Why am I posting this? Usually, if you're trying to make a point and you're doing it in 1 or 2 sentences, even 8 sentences, a long thesis, it's not going to go over well. Anyone who reads it and agrees with it, they already thought that, so we didn't do anything to them. Anyone who reads it and disagrees with it is not going to have their mind changed by 8 sentences. You're not making a good argument, and you can't in 8 sentences. It's not your fault that you can't do it in 8 sentences. Nobody can. So just realize what Facebook is and what it isn't. If you want to make a political argument, Facebook ain't the way. You can make a video like this one. It has many more words than anything you would post in text. Try that if you really demand to post on Facebook. Or type something out. Think it through. Edit it. Make sure it's wise before you share it. Maybe it won't always be, but at least you tried. I'm trying to save Facebook. I don't know why. Most of the posts people make that I'm friends with, I just ignore. I don't read my wall, I guess it is, very much. I just use Facebook for the groups because I need to. And I'll share the occasional thing, or post the occasional thing, rather. I don't really share all that much. I make my own content. I don't need to share other people's. But my point here goes for sharing things as well, maybe even more. You make your own 1 or 2 sentence post, at least that was your words. You share a post of someone else saying 1 or 2 sentences, that's even worse. Now you're one step removed from a non-clever, non-wise couple sentences. At least make up your own. But don't do it. Just think about it. The negative outweighs the positive in almost every case. I'm begging you, think things through before you post. Ask yourself why you're doing it. And like I said, think about the fact that people who already think it are getting nothing out of it. People who disagree with it are not changing by it. And they're only going to come to view you more negatively, perhaps unfriend you. And like I said before, if you think that's not a bad thing, reconsider how important these politics are to you, because I think it's too much. Thanks.